Hello everyone. I splurred that. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome to my last video in this series of authenticating and the FortiGate. I left you guys off in the last demo, me pausing while I was troubleshooting my single sign-on solution. Now, um, just to kind of fill you in with what happened here. So essentially, I created the user groups. I stuck them on the firewall policies, and it seemed like every FSSO user, regardless of what user group I put them in. So if it was an FSSO user, they hit the first FSSO group regardless of their membership, and it got through the firewall. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So I did my basic troubleshooting. I even did some more advanced debug troubleshooting. Everything looked correct. So that has to be some of the most frustrating situations, right, guys, where you're doing everything correctly, and it's like it's still not working, and we always think it's us. Um, so at that point, I went ahead and I hit the forums and I hit the internet, and I could not find the problem. I could not find the problem. So I just went ahead and took a holistic approach here. For starters, I realized that my domain controller, here's my domain controller, the time was off. So I'm in this virtual environment, right? GNS3. And for some reason, the system clock likes to get out of sync with my normal clock. It probably how my laptop powers down. I'm not too sure. So that's one thing that I changed. I wanted to make sure that the FortiGates and the domain controller were at the right times. And I really don't have anything empirical to show you guys when it comes to proof. But I mean, it's time stamped. So I didn't know if that had something to do with it. So I went ahead and I fixed that. The next thing that I did was I went back to standard mode just to try it out. And standard mode, remember, doesn't use the LDAP server. It just uses that NetBIOS flat domain structure. I recorded a separate video on that, and it still didn't work. It still went through. I'm just like, hey, what the heck, right? And so once again, I hit the forums, and I started really diving deep into it, and I even went to the FortiGate Cookbook. Great resource, by the way, guys. Read everything, and I'm just like, man, it still looks correct, right? So I just want to bring all this up to you guys because at this point, if this was a production network and I was testing this to roll it out as a project in the future, right, because we always do our testing, I would call the TAC, which is the Technical Assistance Center from Fortinet. So there's a reason why we purchased the support license, right? And even though I did get it working on my own, okay, they need to know about these things. All right, so there you guys go. Just another reinforcement there. If it is not behaving the way that you expect it to and you're doing everything to your capacity, you should not feel bad calling the TAC. So I recorded an SSL VPN demo where the client would time out at 98%, and it'd come back as a blocked app log event with an unknown error. But if I went ahead and I authenticated using the same client in a different interface, right? You guys can look back at that video. It went through. It was successful, and it was intermittent. So you know what? To me, that's not acceptable. I know that sounds silly, but it's the kind of stuff that needs to be reported. And Fortinet is a very strong player in the game, right? But they're just like anything else. There's going to be little bugs. There's going to be little hiccups, and don't waste months or weeks trying to think that it's you when it could just be something from their end. So and I've seen that happen before. I've seen people struggle with something for months and it turned out to be a bug. So anyways, so how did I actually solve this? I came across one forum that actually said, you know what, I worked with the TAC. They told me to uninstall it and reinstall it. I'm like, really? That's like saying, have you tried turning it on and off again? Anyways, but the second thing that I wanted to show you was I took the opportunity to do a couple of things different. For starters, there was a newer version. So in our older version, we used the 2.6.4. which was in the same folder as our 40OS. Now, normally, I would not think twice about downloading whatever's in the same folder. That was an earlier video that we did. But I did find this one sitting in the 6.0 and the 6.0 40OS folder. And I read the release notes for 5.4.8, and it said 2.0.0264 and up was supported. So I'm like, you know what? I'll give the newer version a try. Okay. Also, the other thing that I did different, I'm just reviewing all this with you guys because, like I said, I want full transparencies on how I fix things, all right, if I did fix anything, is that just for giggles, just for something different, all right, it should not really matter at our situation here. But when I configured the LDAP setting, I actually configured it using SAM account name instead of the CN, all right? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the difference there, but one actually uses your Windows login name, your system ID versus your common name. So, and as you can see there, FortiGate at itninja.lab. And so, and then that was about it. That was about it, except for, you know, I applied the group filters here. And one thing that I noticed right off of the bat, I actually got the full distinguished name now displayed, whereas I don't think I had that before. So I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good sign, right? Um, these look identical, all right? Also, I think in my video when I was setting up the collector, I could not get the group filters because remember you can apply the group filters either from the collector agent, and you have to do it through the collector agent, by the way, if you do standard instead of advanced setup. But if you do advanced setup, you can actually filter them like we did in the GUI there. But if you go to set group filters, okay, see how they say there's a default one that was set by me. There's one that was pulled down from the FortiGate, all right? I did figure out what I was doing wrong there when I went to advanced to configure these because I'm like, man, why can't I select more than one of these, right? And that's because you have to actually see how I'm like, oh man, it just won't let me add the group. You have to double click. Come on, there we go. Then you can go ahead and you can check and uncheck. Come on. Yeah, isn't that weird? Like it takes a second to kind of have it wake up there. All right. Whoa, there they all are. So that's what I was doing wrong in that first video when I couldn't select them from the collector. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird, you know, but that's the reason why. So I set them in both places. It should not matter. It just simply says, okay, collector, don't send me everything. Just send me what I'm listing here and vice versa. So that shouldn't be a big deal. Other than that, I made the groups the same. So I went over to user groups because remember guys, it doesn't mean anything until you actually put them in FSSO groups. Okay? Alright, so that wasn't anything different. The only thing that I did was I tried a nested one here that said test, and that did end up working. I was just playing around with different options here. There's also a command that you can run on the FortiGate. Now these commands are in the FortiOS handbook, but it's going to be a diagnose, debug, right? Authd for the authentication daemon, FSSO, and you can hit the question here. And this is where you also go to do things like refresh the groups, clear the logons, refresh the logins, which will resync it with the FSSO collector agent. This is where you can see the command line version of what DCs are connected. Okay, but more importantly is that if we hit list, here we go, list, you can see the users that are logged on, and they're showing Mr. Ian, Mr. IP Freely. I mean, he's a part of the sales group, and he's also a part of the test group. See how we have two groups there? All right, I did that on purpose because I was, well, testing it. And then we also had Jane in the management group. All right, so I'm like, everything's looking fine. Okay, but the problem was with the last video, traffic was still getting in, right? Like Sally or someone like that was still being able to ping or something. Oops, I got out of my environment here. Just a second. There we are. Okay, so let me actually close some of those. So let's go ahead and take a look at the policies. All right, policies and objects. So once again, as a review, this was the policy that I did at the very top to allow the domain controller to get out. And because it did not have authentication on it, I wanted to make sure that it was very granular. So I have a single IP address, and also it has to match the MAC address of the DC1. Okay? And then after that, I had this, and this trusted, by the way, is just taking the 10.0.1 and the 10.0.3 networks and grouping those two IDs together just for simplicity. So that's all that trusted means. But here's the support FSSO. And if you notice, they actually have service for everything. Okay? But our standard users just have web access. They shouldn't be pinging, they shouldn't be pinging, they shouldn't be dinging, whatever. Okay? The interwebs, that's about it. Okay? Now, what the heck is going on down here? So this is something that I always iterate in my classes, and I really want to emphasize the importance of this. So for some reason, if a user cannot be authenticated passively, right? So the collector agent goes down, or communication is disrupted by the DC rebooting, I don't have a clue. You can still put on active authentication. I guess if the DC was down, it still wouldn't work. I guess it would just be the collector agent. You'd have to do local groups or something there. But anyways, so these are our original ones that we did at the beginning of these videos, okay, that are still using LDAP. All right, they're still using LDAP, but it's active. So if for some reason they can't authenticate passively, at least the worst thing that will happen here is that they'll get a login screen. All right, so which is a whole lot better than someone calling up a support ticket and saying, what? The internet's broken. The internet's broken. Ah! All right, so should we test it out? And very simple way to test it out, okay? And by the way, this is why I was so frustrated. There's nothing I did differently than what I did in the first video. Nothing at all. All I did was reinstall the collector agent, and it drives me nuts. All right. Anyways, because that makes no sense. Anyways, so like I said, guys, open up a ticket with attack. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. All right. So if we go to our, and once again, it's getting close to midnight. All right. So if we go down to our monitor, and we go to our firewall users, okay. I already have show all FSSO logins. So Devin, Ian, and Jane are logged in. And you can see that Ian is a part of sales, Devin's a part of support. I took out the test group from the firewall rules because I was well done testing it. I'd probably delete that. And Jane is just management. Okay, what the heck is Jane doing? Jeez, getting like Windows updates. Anyways, so which she should still not be able to do. No, I think Windows updates are through 4.4.3, aren't they? Anyways, squirrel. All right. Anyways, sorry guys. And if I come over here and say show logged in users on my domain controller, all right, looks like Jane's there, Devin's there. Ooh, did Ian time out? Interesting. Okay, that might be possible. Let's go take a look, shall we? So, I'm wondering where Ian disappeared here. All right, so here we go. Let's first take a look at our sales laptop. So I'm just gonna, yeah, it's Ian P. Freely, okay. And let's see if he can surf the web here. No, he's still there. He's still okay. And that was actually expected because he's right there, and he was seen 53 minutes ago. I mean, he's authenticated through the firewall. But the real question is, can he ping? All right, so let's go ahead and get a command prompt. All right, ping google.com. Nothing. So you see how he's hitting the firewall rule that's only allowing him to have web access. All right. But someone like Devin or Bill, who's a part of the support group, right? We gave them full access. So if we come over here to support PC, all right, not only should I have internet access, see how I did not have to authenticate. All right, it should load up MSN, which by the way is the dirtiest web page on the internet, meaning it opens up like 300 sessions. Anyways, see how I did not have any prompt for authentication, but if I go to my command prompt, okay, and I ping something like google.com, right, it hits the firewall rule that allows that, okay? Pretty cool, huh? So, and then also with Jane here too. She's on her management laptop, and she can go to Bing and Bing to her heart's content. Okay. See, I have no idea why this didn't work the first time, because everything was identical. Anyways, mix my myriad. Alright, here we go. So guys, honestly, if you have any issues with it, call the TAC. I would have called the TAC before pulling all my hair out like I did, but if they told me to reinstall it, I'd be like, can I talk to an engineer? Because I really want to know the true reason why I'm uninstalling this. Anyways, and they probably have to go through log files, but we let them pay them to do that, right? So, oops, here we go. And Jane should not be able to do it. Now, why are they resolving DNS though? Isn't that kind of weird? Well, remember, it's part of the web access, so that's okay. So also the domain controller is also doing DNS resolution on our behalf. So don't be all freaked out about that. So, all right, guys. So I was gonna do a web filtering one, but nah, that's outside of the scope here. I think that is good. I'll actually keep that for a different video series. But you know, now that we know that our user groups are hitting the right firewall policies, the next step would be to do things like different web filtering access, or you know, maybe different levels of security scans for compliances, or for more secure channels. I am so sorry, guys. I am 40 tired. All right, so pretty neat there. The last thing I really wanted to show you, a couple of things here. Okay, so was everything was logged in, right, and already working. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on this marketing PC and log in Sally real quickly, and also I should have this Android device. Here we go. So what about Android devices that don't authenticate through the domain controller? Come on. You can wake up. Of course, I had to come over here right when I was turning on this guy right here. My poor little laptop can't handle it. By the way, if you guys are interested in seeing how to put like an Android device into your GNS3 for testing, really neat for several different applications, meaning like, you know, examples here, device detection. The icon I got off of their website was ginormous. That's why I called it the Android phablet there, right? But if we notice here, I mean, it should already have an IP address. So let's check that real quick by going to our, let's see. No, we didn't pass out DHCP, did we? I just realized that the Wi-Fi switch is doing that. Wi-Fi switch is doing that. Let's go to our system, FortiView. Let's go to sources. And we should have like a brand new one that we haven't seen before. All right. Come on. Oh man, I'm doing too much. It's gonna blow up. See that lagging? Oh my word. Everyone's already stopped watching the videos. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, that is lame. That is not true. Alright. Okay. IP freely. All right, sorry. Okay, there we go. All sessions. So we should have like a brand new IP address that we haven't seen before, which I'm still not seeing it. Maybe it's not reaching out. It should be reaching out though. It should be like 102. Anyways. All right, skip. So I just wanted to show you guys if you cannot authenticate through a domain controller, yes, it is 1 o'clock or midnight here. I'll say that this is Sally's. All right, and I'll let that finish setting up. Just want to show you what will happen when we stack the authentication like that. Now, what do I mean by stacked? That we have an identical firewall policy that meets our firewall security goals, but one has active authentication at the bottom and passive on top. And passive will always be checked first. Therefore, if for some reason the passive doesn't make it through, you could still at least fall back on the active. So let's go ahead and take a look at marketing. Let's log in Sally here. Now Sally, using her PC, using her domain controller credentials, should not get prompted for authentication. We can double check this too while we're waiting for it to boot by heading back to our domain controller, going to our FSSO collector, hitting the refresh. See how we have quite a bit more people here? See, there's Sally, there's Mr. IP Freely. Okay, she is authenticated, she is good. Now on our FortiGate, if we go to our monitor and we go to our users, let's see here, firewall users. All right, and remember, if you don't see your peeps, right there is the FSSO logins, and she is a part of the marketing group. All right, so she should have access to at least web traffic. So here we go. We can test this out by maybe loading up a quick command prompt. Here we go. And we'll ping something like 8.8.8.8. Oh no, she doesn't have any access. Call the tickets. Call the TAC. Call NASA. No. She has access. I'm so stupid, guys. I'm sorry. Here we go. She should still have web traffic. So it's working. It's working. All right. Now will she instantly be authenticated through her tablet? Well, of course not, right? It has a different IP address. It's not using domain credentials. So we're going to have to rely on active authentication to do that. Active authentication and the fact that it's probably going to boot here for 20 years. So let me go ahead and hit pause. I got to do some more yawning, right? And yeah, I'm going to let this finish booting. So, all right, guys, be right back with you. All right, here we go. That only took a minute. So let's see if this works here. So here's my phablet. So all right. Now remember, this is not a domain device, so I don't know how this is going to behave. So all right. So let's see here. Oh, there it is. What should we Google, guys? Let's type in hello world. Ah, look at that. Looks like it's getting through. Huh. Well, that shouldn't have worked. Crazy. What is going on there? Guys, I'm giving up on everything. Let's take a look. I have no idea why that worked. We should have gotten prompted for login here. The only thing I can think of is maybe a device I power down has the same IP address as this thing. Let's figure that out. So about tablet. Okay. Let's see here. Status. All right. So 10.02 10.02.15. 10.02.15. That can't be right. That can't be right. Why not? Well, because 10.02.15, guys, it's not even a part of my stuff here, right? We have 3, we have 1. How the heck did I get that? What? What? Okay, something funky is going on. Weird, guys. I have no idea. That is not anything to do with this video. That has to be a limitation of yeah, of my firewall here, guys. That's freaky. I have no idea how I got an IP address in that range. I can't figure it out. All right. That's a little weird. That shouldn't be like that. Those should be disabled. Interesting. All right, well, gosh, I have no idea. I'm so sorry, guys. You know what? I'm trying to think of a. I'm trying to think of a way to. Okay, I know how I can show you guys without making this super long. So if I go on my domain controller and I hit refresh, right? So we have a whole bunch of peeps, peeps, peeps. I am still so bloody curious though of what's going on there. Let me just check FortiView real quick. How is that even possible? Chalet. Okay, now Sally should not be associated with the domain controller. You guys see that? Ooh, that could be a problem. And I think that's just because DC doesn't have any authentication next to it. So now why is Sally showing up here, guys? Well, Sally is the what you call it, when they have to do the LDAP lookup, right? Sally was the last person that they did the LDAP lookup on, so that's why you're seeing that there. So I was looking something for like that guy right there. See the IP freely. Oh, that's still so weird, guys. I have no idea how that's circumventing everything. That is just a fault. Okay, I'm gonna have nightmares about packet jumping. All right, so let me. This is why people rehearse their videos. Let me go back to the domain controller. So, anyways, bottom line, I'm gonna go to my users monitor and just kick everyone off. All right, because everyone's kicked off, and we need to generate a login event by some kind of, like, you know, logging into the domain controller. It should kick everyone off. So, get out of here, people. Deauthenticate, right? Somehow they've lost their pairing, what have you. I just wanted to show you guys that all is not lost. When Paul goes and tries to do his taxes, this is what I wanted to show you guys. All right, so not all is lost. So see how Paul can still log in. Oh, hello, Paul. I should really not fat finger his password, huh? There we go. See how I can still do his taxes. So that's what I meant by the stacking. I was going to try to show you that with the fabulet there, but it just didn't work. See how now we have, all right, so now we have Paul right down there. Hey, look, these people came back. Okay, but do you see how Paul is now associated with 10.0.1.10? That is only briefly because of the LDAP query that the FortiGate has to do. Now that could possibly be doing some of the voodoo magic I had issues with. I didn't even think about that till I caught this right now, because I promise you that will go away in a few moments. Crazy, but there's Paul at least authenticated, right? So there's Mr. IP Freely. There's Sally. See how she was logged in. And Sally did work, right? Did we see Sally's? Yeah, we saw Sally's computer working just fine. So, all right, guys, that's about as good as I got for right now. Hopefully, someone found that helpful. If not, more hurtful. Maybe it's just proof that things don't work right off of the bat. Things that I want to follow up with. If I get more insight into maybe why my first example didn't work, I might drop an updated video. I also want to eventually get FSSO used on Macs, Macintoshes. So, but obviously I don't have any Mac hardware here to try it out on at the moment. But hopefully that's enough for you guys to get started. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if not, so let me know. And for those people who have contact with me that have taken my class, you know how to contact me. You can always leave a comment too there for anyone that might stumble across these, and I feel bad for you if you did. Um, yeah, good night.